Full Service Radio is proudly supported and hosted by Simplecast, the easiest way for a podcast creator to publish and distribute audio on the internet. For more information, visit simplecast.com.
Full Service Radio.
Full Service Radio.
Peace, everyone, and welcome to the Edible Activist Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa L. Jones, broadcasting live from the lobby of the Line, D.C. This podcast is where dynamic people of color in the food and agricultural space share their personal food journeys, passions, and perspectives that stem from the land, all exemplifying the spirit of activism in their own edible way. Let's get started. Peace, everyone, and welcome to the Edible Activist Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa L. Jones, broadcasting live from the lobby of the Line, D.C. on Full Service Radio. So for today's show, feeding the community literally and the amazing leaders behind a food movement to create accessibility and food equality. According to the D.C. Policy Center, more than 11% of the city is a food desert, with 50% of Ward 8 having limited access to food. This is a poverty issue as much as it is an access issue, sadly. But meet Charles Gussom Jr., aka Charlie, who's a DC native and community development manager with Martha's Table, who is boots to the ground feeding DC residents in many ways while advocating for a better way of living for families. Welcome to the show, Charlie. I'm so glad to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
Yay. Sorry for the technical difficulties,
No
but
worries.
you're the homie, so you were patient.
Absolutely.
And then also in the studio with me, I have my friend first and an awesome co-host for today, guest co-host for the day, Ronnie Webb of the Green Scheme.
Yo.
Ronnie always swoons through gang, right?
Yeah, for sure. Especially when I'm around such good energy.
Yes, we just talked about that prior to the show. So thank you both for joining me. It's always fun. Like, we can have a party here. You know, when we invite other people with good vibes and good energy and talk about what we love to do.
Yes,
like,
indeed.
This is going to be a really dope conversation. So we're just going to hop right into it. Charlie, you are a DC native. Ward 8,
Yep.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you are when I say you are literally boots to the ground, because I kind of stalk what you do on the ground, right? He laughs. People always laugh when I say that. I stalk people on the gram, okay? Especially gonna come to my show. I gotta, learn about them.
Absolutely.
But, when I say that you are literally feeding the community in many ways, from a health standpoint, from a social justice standpoint, with all the unique programming and everything that you guys have going on, you are really a true definition of building community. And we tend to throw that word around a lot. Mm-hmm. And I've had conversations with other guests to say, let's define community, because it's so easy to say that, but what does that really mean? Mm-hmm. So from your words to everyone else's ears, I really want to hear your definition of community, especially being as though you grew up in DC and now you're in a space where you're giving back to the same area where you grew up in.
Absolutely. When I look at community, the first thing I think is unity. A group of individuals, like-minded individuals with similar characteristics and attributes and goals that are well-connected, well-informed with policy and everything, development, everything that's going on within their community, that are together, that they come together, they advocate together, and they grow together. So when I think of community, I just think of a unity.
I like that.
Yeah.
UNITY. Y'all remember that?
Yes, indeed.
That's one of the best definitions I heard of.
No, for real. We're gonna extract those words and put them in quotes.
Hey, let's do it.
Charlie, wasn't that a dope definition?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, that togetherness is important.
Yes, togetherness and unity. Mm-hmm. And Ronnie, I want to hear your take on community. What's yours? It might not be better than Charlie's.
Nah,
no competition. We are community right here.
There's a community right here.
It's kind of hard to come behind his answer, but I think what he said was really sort of like sort of jumped out to me is the unity part of it, you know, and it's just collectively moving forward in progression. And just like you mentioned, just being able to make really good informed decisions as a unit collectively to get to a better quality of life.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Both of you are DC natives. Both of you grew up in the city. You're Ward 5? Okay, Ward 5 and Ward 8. And, you know, we're all in this space of food and togetherness, as Charlie said. And, you know, the stats that I put out, you know, at the very beginning of the show, like, those are real stats, you know, but we are evolving into this space where we're changing narratives, you know. Charlie, what was your experience in the realm of food in which you had access to, or some of those experiences? What did those experiences look like for you coming up, and now being in a position where you're actually helping those and trying to break those barriers?
Wow, yeah, that's a great question. Like, for me, it was my experience was being miseducated in many perspectives. I grew up, you know, in a household where, you know, I had a meal on the table. However, it wasn't the most healthy meal. And, you know, I grew up on a lot of beef, a lot of pork, a lot of starch, you know, a lot of, in many perspectives, junk food. When it came to me naturally going out and seeking food when I was hungry, I would go to the local carryout or the local corner store and get that bag of chips, or when the ice cream truck would come around the neighborhood, I would get my favorite hookup, what I would call it.
Favorite hookup.
My hookup was it was a hot dog with a chili cheese hot dog with salt and vinegar potato chips and a 50-cent juice, right? So my journey, it was amazing. I grew up, like I said, eating a lot of junk food, and it's just, I had no clue or no insight on the importance of healthy foods. I knew about vegetables, but oftentimes when I had vegetables, it was canned vegetables. You know what I mean? It wasn't grown. You know, my parents didn't grow our vegetables.
Right.
We didn't have gardens. Although my mom was really in tune to that type of thing, we didn't have the environment to have our own garden or grow our own vegetables. And the access in itself, especially when I was growing up, if you think about it, in Ward 7 and Ward 8, there's only 3 grocery stores for over 170,000 residents. So you can only imagine me being a 32-year-old man growing up in the 90s, you know, the access was even worse.
Right.
So just not being educated, not having the guidance to understand the importance of healthy eating. And as I grew, I was fortunate enough to meet an individual. His name is Mr. Dominique Taylor. I've been a friend of his and a mentee of his for about 13 years now. And he was a vegan.
Okay.
And I was like,
what is that?
I was like, what? No, you know, I got a funny story about that though, right? Because we were still evolving in friendship, right? So we were out and I was hungry, and I said, I'm going to go grab me some food. So when I came back with the food, I had like 10 chicken wings, and I got in his car, and he was like, "Nuh-uh, bro, you can't get in my car with that." And I was like, "What? What you mean?
You will not
like,
taint this vegan car with the chicken wings."
So, like, as our relationship grew, like, I used to be the advocate of, like, what is veganism? Like, I don't want to know about veganism. I don't care about veganism. Get this idea away from me. But as we grew and evolved, he gave me a lot of insight on some of the effects that the food that I naturally would partake in had on my body, and just the generational health deterrence that, you know, a lot of my family in itself dealt with. You know, like a lot of, you know, people say that diabetes runs in your family, but I think that's false. I think, you know, just the way we're conditioned to eat from generations is what causes the dis-ease. So I got a lot of information on veganism, the healthy eating part, how to grow and to, you know, cook healthy, you know, foods, fruits and vegetables, things like that. And I'm proud to sit here now as a 6-year vegan vegetarian.
All right,
you know
now.
I would have never known, you know, like growing up where I came from, I would have never knew that I would get to this point.
Ronnie, you have a similar story because you just went. Not that I don't want to turn this whole conversation to a plant-based conversation, but you know, just talking about like the generational eating patterns. Yes. You are a witness to that because part of how you got into all of this was you did experience some health issues, which we talked about prior. You know, because of your eating and because of what you were consuming, and you know, you were in these inner city neighborhoods and you are literally eating what you have access to because you were in your 20s with high blood pressure.
High blood pressure, yeah.
That's crazy.
Not in your 20s, like 17, 18.
Wow.
You know.
Wow.
Good grief. Well, you are the community, Charlie, you are the community development manager with Martha's Table. And Martha's Table has been around for a very long time. We were just talking about that. Yeah. And the work that you all do is incredible. So again, going back to when I say feeding the community, I really mean feeding the community beyond the plate, you know, through your unique programming, through all the various initiatives that you guys have. And it's really providing an accessible way for people to have a better quality of life. You know, conversations about fatherhood, you know, soul flexology, I see, you know, different just exercise initiatives. Like it's because it's the whole body. Right. You know, it's holistic. Mind, body, and soul. Yeah. So definitely want to touch on your work with Martha's Table and just see how that's impacted you personally and what that means to you to be, again, serving a community that you grew up to. And because I'm sure you didn't have access to any of that programming, of which you do. And I also feel like you've been, without even knowing you, just seeing you on the ground, which is just crazy how we connect with people. I feel like you are the position that you're in. You're truly building it out to how you want it to be a position of service. Yeah,
definitely. So as far as my work at Martha's Table, I love it. You know, it's a passion of mine. I love to be able to provide a space where our community can come and have healthy food access, but not only just healthy food access, you're also being educated. It's healthy food education as well. So a lot of times we tap into the education part with our food demonstrations, our cooking classes, a lot of things that we've developed so that not only are you getting this access to the fruits, vegetables, and pantry items, you're also being educated on how you can go home and prepare it with your family. And outside of the eating portion, the food portion, we also, like you mentioned, we have health and wellness programs such as our seniors fitness program. We have community dinners as well. We also have a partnership with Urban Alliance where they come in and they educate high school age youth about workforce readiness and career and college readiness. We do so much. We just started our joyful food markets in the elementary schools. We are in over 50 elementary schools in Ward 7 and 8 where we go into the schools and we literally set up a market where the kids and their families can shop at no cost for fresh fruits, vegetables, and pantry items. And again, it goes back to the access portion, but also the education. So within our markets, we have food demonstrations where we prepare food samples with the fruits and vegetables that they are shopping for, and we also give them recipes to go home, and it's family friendly, it's fun. They can literally go home with the groceries that they just shopped for and prepare that recipe at home. And it's just a joy to see, you know, our community, and especially starting with the kids, you know, like they're literally like, I've literally heard kids tell their parents, I don't want any candy, I want vegetables, I want fruit. So we're changing the narrative through these programs, through our monthly community markets, our early childhood education program. So we're creating a new narrative in our ward and our city through healthy food access, education, and providing just that hub where people can come and, you know, receive those health and wellness and that education and access, you know, in a community that's been overlooked in that area for quite a while.
For sure. For those who are just tuning in, this is Melissa L. Jones here with the Edible Activist Podcast, broadcasting live in the lobby of the Line Hotel DC here in Full Service Radio. And I have a wonderful guest, Charlie Gussom Jr., who is the Community Development Manager with Martha's Table. He's also a DC native. And as I stated before, Charlie is boots to the ground to really serve his community, especially in Ward 8, Wards 8 and 7, but he grew up in Ward 8, and really just being in that position to be of service, to the same neighborhood that he grew up in so many different capacities is just empowering, and heartwarming and just impactful. And then I have my guest co-host, Ron.
Yo.
From the Green Scheme, which is another dynamic organization. And, you both work a lot with youth. Ronnie, you do a lot. Everything that you do is primarily with the youth in the community as well. And so my question to you is, do you feel like when you're in the space of working with youth, whether it's in the garden or whether you're inviting, families out to these events at Mother's Table, what have you, do you look at that young boy or that young girl and say, like, that was me,
Yes. I do it all the time.
All the time.
It's
all the time.
I guess it's just like, it's a wonderful space. I guess, I would assume Ronnie can agree in this. It's just a wonderful space to be in, to be able to look at that child and say that was me, but also be able to provide that environment where they're learning about, the importance of health at such an early age, because I know from my personal experience, I didn't have that, that resource there or that platform that had, where I can go in my school and literally shop for fresh fruits and vegetables and have a garden, where I'm learning about, the importance of, growing your fruits and your vegetables and things like that. Sure. So just when I look at that child and to be in this space, it's just, it's like an unbelievable feeling for me. I love it.
Wow.
For sure. And then another piece that I get, and let me know, Charlie, if you feel this too, is when we step out in these places in the community and we come in with a message that we bring, those kids are able to, it's like I can see it in their eyes, like, and he grew up just like me. He looked just like my uncle or my brother in the house, man.
Wow.
And he looked like one of my cousins
true.
standing outside, but at the same time, you coming with a different message and a different tune.
Absolutely.
And so it kind of like, I kind of see him sometimes get like, hold up, what's going on over here?
Definitely.
And to me, that's
wow.
I think that is part of what I feel like us as men should be doing in our community, is showing other ways of being successful, giving back, and being healthy. It's I think that's another
Each one teach one, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that inspires me to know that I can go out there and these kids see, like, oh man, like, yeah.
And you're a dad.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm a dad too.
You're a dad, so when you look at your boy, he's your source of inspiration, which we've already talked about.
For sure.
He looks at dad and says, he sees dad in the garden. Let me come help.
Yeah.
And that's powerful.
Yeah, and to add on to what Ronnie said, the youth and also their parents. Sometimes I look at the parents and they're the same way. They're receiving this information and they're grateful for it. They're looking like, wow, this young guy that looks like me, that looks like my niece, my nephew, my son, that may be doing whatever they're doing in their lives, really is, spreading a positive message. And I feel like it naturally attracts, because ultimately growing up in these environments, like, we knew that there was something better, subconsciously, somewhere, I knew it was something better for me, I just didn't know, I just couldn't figure it out. Yeah. And I feel like some of the youth that we serve are in that same space. So when they see us, advocating something right, it changes their subconscious as well. They're like, okay, this is in front of me. I know that this is here. This is a decision that I need to make. And as we engage them, they appreciate it more.
For sure. It wasn't cool. Like, at one point in time, it wasn't considered this was the cool work to do. You know,
Right.
Charlie, you know that we all
That's
came
true.
in
Yeah.
and we just kept singing
That's
our
true.
tune and our song.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and we believe really what we believed in, but it's now you see it's changing the whole trajectory of like the responses now.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's like it's cool to learn about health now, you know. It's wonderful.
Which is segues into our next topic. Don't mute my health, right?
Don't mute my health.
Which
No doubt.
is, I just love when I say it. I just love it because it's mobilizing. And Charlie, I saw you rocking your shirt
Of
and
course.
doing your testimony.
Of course.
We
And
teammates.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I got my shirt too.
Just the beginning. It's just the beginning.
It is just the beginning. And for those, I'm not going to tell folks I'll let Ronnie tell folks, you know, the audience about Don't Mute My Health, and then Charlie will pass the baton over to you. But it's an incredible and dynamic campaign and movement that is really spreading like wildfire, in my opinion. But it's backed by, again, folks who look like us, keeping the culture, you know, blending our culture into it, and just being us and being true and being authentic, but saying, hey, like there are other ways.
Absolutely.
You know, and I want this generation to be sustained. You know, I want you to live better, look better, feel better. But it's coming from the mouths of folks who look like us, which is really important because it's our demographics and our communities that are always affected the first. You know, at the very beginning when stuff just goes crazy. So anyway, Ronnie, break down Don't Mute My Health.
Don't Mute My Health. So Don't Mute My Health. It's a group of us that we just got together. We all were in the health space or doing something that we really wanted to promote a message about just owning your own health, being resilient about it, but really a cool way of articulating that and getting people involved. And so what we did was we all got together and we just DC had a movement called Don't Mute DC, which is revolved around go-go. And at the time, that movement was really big. It got a lot of attention.
Yes, it did.
It got go-go solidified, protected in the city. But after that happened, there was still a lot of violence going on in the city, and people were saying that the violence, like, what's up with this Don't Mute DC thing? And so we just thought creatively, we can birth a new movement off of something that has already gained so much momentum and had such a positive impact. And so this is a way we can address how they're addressing violence or how they're addressing health, or, you know, just using that platform to do positive in that community, because I felt like it was definitely a great model and it worked. And so we just got people really excited now. And so what we do is we host these community rallies pretty much every week. And we get different speakers to come out, and we talk about health with different ways. So we got nutritionists coming in that comes to show us how to read food labels. We have Dr. Linda Thompson from Howard University comes down to talk about how food is mood. And, you know, and so what we're finding out too is that through these community conversations, we're finding out that different people in the community have different issues that they really care about with health. So, you know, you have some people that are really prioritizing being the foods they eat, or they're vegan. You have some people who say, I don't drink any sodas, I drink just waters. You have people who care about skincare and natural products. You have people who care about just different access to good medical facilities in their community. So it's different. So what we've noticed is that our goal now is to build this platform in this organizing space, so when different issues in our community need support, we're able to lend our support through the platform and through the resources that we were able to establish. And so we work with, we got 12 ambassadors now. Myself and Charlie are ambassadors, along with a couple.
I'm not an ambassador.
No, for sure.
Charlie ambassador. You ain't say my name.
Join us. Let's make it official on the podcast right now.
Melissa is a Don't Mute My Health ambassador.
Get some chains, man. Like, the Rock and everybody.
Yeah, I know, right?
I should have worn my shirt today.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
okay. I ain't wearing mine.
That's really dope. Well, Charlie, how's the Don't Mute My Help been playing out in your world and what you do at Monsters Table?
Well, Ronnie explained it the best. I can't explain it better. Like, Ronnie and I, we built the relationship before I was even at Martha's Table. You know what I mean? And just the work that he's been doing in the health sector, and advocating for health, and the work that he does with the youth. When I saw the movement created, and I was approached about being a part of it, and he told me everything it was about. Him and Stuart Anderson told me about what the movement was about. I said, I'm for it. Not only because of the relationship we built, but the work that he's put in prior to this movement. I knew that it was something great. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then for me to be in the health space in some perspective as well, it just made sense. You know what I mean? The most important thing for me was the unity. Like, I'm tough on that word. A lot of people that look like us advocating something that can, change our people's narrative, that can change our people and save our people's lives. Everybody doing the work that they do in their different space, coming together with collective ideas, coming together with different strategies and unifying with one common goal is to just change this narrative in regards to how we take care of ourselves. When I was approached about it, I was like, I'm all in. So anything that I can do with my platform at Martha's Table or outside of Martha's Table, I'm all in. So.
And do you each find that, I feel like it's so easy to to just drag, the word food desert just through the mud and just focus on food desert, no access. And to be truthfully honest, I really don't like to talk a lot about food deserts because I feel like people just want to hone in on what the issue is. And that's why I like bringing awesome folks like you into the studio to throw the sunshine on what is, what's changing, the narratives that are changing. But do you feel that there's still like just too much, not necessarily negativity, but it's just always this focus on like Ward 8 and Ward 7? And by the way, let me remind folks that Martha's Table, it's not even just focused on Ward 8 and Ward 7. It's whoever needs, the fruits and vegetables, the fresh produce, the common market. You guys have a common market where people can shop.
And we
the
also
programs.
have we support our neighbors up in Northwest as well. We still have our location at the Maycroft on Columbia Road.
Oh, okay.
Northwest, where we provide early childhood education. And also we have a lobby market from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday
Y'all
there
hear
as
that?
well. So.
Y'all better be there.
Yeah.
But do you feel like that? Do you feel, I can't talk today, guys, that there's still like this, I'll say negative energy just for the sake of like word usage or whatever, but that there's still just too much spotlight on the lows of what's happening in these words, or what isn't accessible, what isn't there, and not enough of what is changing. Do you feel that way at all?
I feel like...
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I feel like, for instance, when I found out Charlie got to Martha's Table, it was like, oh man, this is big. I knew that was going to be big because I
like that. He knew it was going to be big.
Well, I did because I already had known like his background and just his community work that he was already doing. So in the food space, in the health space, it was like it's a breath of fresh air. Not only that, his understanding of the dynamics of the community.
Right.
This is like you. Same likewise. Y'all are the game changers in that space. So it's like I get inspired when I work, and that's what I want to see more. That's why I say I was ecstatic you was up Martha's Table, because it just, I know now we can work at Martha's Table now. It's good, as much great work as they do. Charlie there is going to make a lot of stuff make sense, and that's what I like about it. But other rooms, I do. It is constant. It's a disconnect.
It's a disconnect.
And so if they don't have like one of us at the table, or not just one of us, a couple of us there, things are going to get missed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
it's like you got to show up in those spaces. Yeah.
And it's frustrating, but it's not when you starting to see the progression, being in this space for so long, you start to see the people evolve, like we talked about earlier. They evolved and they get into the tables and Now all of y'all are collectively, we there at the table. For the longest time, I can say for myself, I wasn't at the table. You know, so and
you
so,
there now?
Well, getting there.
No, you at the table.
You know,
I'm in the field, man.
We might need to switch up, you know, some seating arrangements or whatever, and position yourself a bit more. But you're at the table.
And I know, Charlie, I know I'm really curious to hear your answer to that, because you are right there. And see, one thing that's really inspiring is this is your community. You know, so you are able to really come back and you can tell them, you can write a book about the community that they should read before they, you know what I'm saying, come in and implement programming, but they do such a great job.
I just think the exact same as Ronnie, you know, just having that seat at the table and understanding the dynamics. I think with any issue, there's going to be opinions, you know, so what I try to do in my position is shift that, you know, instead of focusing on some of the negatives, how do we bring in our community to have those conversations on how we can work collectively on some of the things that you feel are the main necessities here in your space. How do we create community? You know, how do you live on this street right around the corner? You live on Elvins Road and you have someone that lives on Stanton Road, but you don't know them. You know what I mean? Or you sit in a room at a community dinner and you all live in the same corridor, but you don't know this person. You know what I mean? How do we connect that? How do we create that space where community can come in and we can listen and learn to the community? Because oftentimes, you know, organizations, you know, different movements come into communities and say, this is the issue, and we're here to change it.
Right, and this is what we're going to do.
That's not how you change anything.
Without their voices.
Absolutely, without their voices, like we're the answer, like we're the savior. So in my position, I try to do the exact opposite, because I know how it feels to grow up and feel like I'm unheard, you know, and my voice doesn't matter, or this development is happening, I don't know anything about it. So how do I receive the feedback from the community so we can collectively grow to, you know, create a sustainable community, you know? So that's the most important thing to me in my role, is just listening, learning, and creating platforms where the community can come in, the voice is heard, and they can help us develop, you know? I don't have all the answers, you know? I'm not going to say, oh, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, and we're going to change Ward 7 and Ward 8. But I do know if we listen and learn from the community and create community councils, community forums, things like that, so the voices could be heard, it could be appreciated, and the community feels like they have a piece of the change. That's the most important part for me in my role.
And he's doing it. Like, if you look at the events, let's go on Instagram, look at the events.
Go on the Instagram. You can just go on Charlie's Instagram alone and look at the events. And
meet me at Martha's Table, 2375 Elvis Road, and let's talk.
And you guys do a ton of events, but Charlie, you're so sincere. You're so sincere. So when Ronnie said that he knew you were going over to Martha's Table, like, that's big. Like, this is my first time meeting you, but you're so sincere, and you know you are doing it well. Like you said, I don't have all the answers. Please don't. I don't have all the answers.
Yes, you do.
Sometimes I'm just floating out here, just going with the flow. You know, just that's all. Ronnie, I don't got all the answers. I don't got the hookup.
Y'all can see my facial expression right now. That one eyebrow is up.
It is up, though.
Y'all, it is. Y'all are hilarious. But no, I'm just honored to have you here and just
Likewise.
share, you know, your work, your passion, your upbringing here in the city, and your compassion for your city, and just really wanting better for, you know, your residents and your community. And sometimes I'm like, we all we got. Sometimes I feel we all we got. We got to help one another.
That's a fact.
And, you know, I remember when I did my little snippet for Don't Mute My Health, and they were, you know, I was asked, what does Don't Mute My Health mean to you? And I started out by saying it's don't mute my lifeline. And I definitely consider my health my lifeline. So, you know, and that's like, it's mind, body, and soul. Yes, it's food. but it's also, knowledge, and it's also love, service from those who are in those leadership positions that can help. So it's a holistic thing, but it is really like, don't mute my lifeline, and health is important. And so both of you guys are really doing tremendous work out there. And you guys have an upcoming event, so definitely want you to talk about that real quick before we conclude.
Definitely. We have a dinner and conversation on October the 16th. So us, Martha's Table, Community of Hope, our partners at Community of Hope, and the Horn and Brothers are going to be at our location, 2375 Elvins Road, and we're just going to have a conversation and dinner where the community comes in. We're going to be answering questions. We're going to be giving updates on our programming, our upcoming events that we have. We're also going to be we're going to be listening and learning as well. It's not about us telling the community what we have going on. We also have developed questions for the community to see how we can better support our community. So it's October the 16th again at our headquarters in Southeast. If you're available, it's from 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. It's actually catered from a Ward 8 business, black-owned business, MLK Deli.
All right.
So come and join us at the table.
I like that.
Definitely. Come and join us at the table if you're available on that date.
For sure.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Charles, where can the folks find you? Where can our listeners find you?
My Instagram is at Charles Gussom Jr.
But call him Charlie, though, guys, when you see him.
I'll answer to both, Charles or Charlie. But everybody knows me as Charlie. So if you ask, do you know Charles from Martha's Table, you may say, huh? They may say, huh, you mean Charlie? So, I answer to both. But and then my Facebook is Charles Gussom Jr. as well.
Okay, awesome. Well, we are going to do a quick rapid fire before we conclude the show. You ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Is he ready, Ron?
I think, he ready. We got the goat in here today. I keep telling you, man. Man.
Ronnie's the goat.
Charlie going, man, watch. Y'all gonna see in a minute. I just said it right here on. So it's documented.
It's documented, exactly. Exactly.
Right together. We'll be right together, hand in hand, man.
He just did a event that was super dope.
Which one?
The Mochella at Martha's Table.
Mochella.
Yes. So we partnered with 93.9 for back to school block party where we had like
and
the Mochella.
It was a block party.
We partnered with Mochella. They came in. They brought the bands. It was, what was phenomenal about that event? It was over 1,500 Ward 8 residents in one space enjoying themselves, and oftentimes, you
can't get groups like that together without something happening.
Yeah, at least that's what people feel. That's the narrative, but I'm counter that. I'm like, we can come together
absolutely
in one space without a problem. So that was a testament of that. And it was a great time. It was a lot of people.
I love the name Mochella.
Yeah.
If you're a DC native or you from the area, you will understand why they call it Mochella.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a lit situation. Yeah.
All right, Charlie, what is your favorite leafy green?
Kale.
Oh, he was ready. He was ready, Ron. Kale. Okay. Sweet, spicy, sour, or salty?
Sweet.
Favorite fruit?
Orange.
I like oranges too. All right, so this is actually, I actually had another question on here, but it's not on my list, but I'm going to throw it to you. I think I sent it to you. What was the last artist on your playlist?
Stevie Wonder.
Really? What?
Rocket Love. The song is called Rocket Love.
Rocket Love. Awesome.
I find time in my day every day to listen to that song.
Okay, I'm about to start listening to that every day. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What's cooking in your pot these days? Literally. You cook?
A little bit. Kale.
You gonna make it some kale? You eat a lot of kale.
Believe me, I work in a space where we provide fresh fruits and vegetables,
right.
And believe me, I utilize it as well. So,
Ron, you eat kale? You can.
I like kale.
I like kale.
Mm-hmm.
What is one action step that someone can take towards edible activism?
Join the Don't Mute My Health movement. Join us at the table, at Martha's Table.
Yes.
Although we are open to expanding these movements and expanding our reach. So just join us at the table. Come and have a conversation with Ronnie Webb, Stuart Anderson, myself, and let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
We'll be at the Food Policy Council meeting tonight, talking about Don't Mute My Health. So if y'all get a chance, y'all can meet us there.
Stroll up.
Stroll up.
Good vibes only.
Pull up.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you guys so much. This has been awesome. All right. Peace, everybody.
All right.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We are here live on Full Service Radio every Wednesday at 11 a.m., where you can catch today's episode on fullserviceradio.org, as well as iTunes and Spotify. Be sure to follow me at Food Talks in Color on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Are you an edible activist? Sure you are. Come join me on the show. I would love to feature you. Just shoot me a DM on the gram. Peace and blessings all. And remember, there is no culture without agriculture.